Howdy guys, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Eileo, and in today's video we have McSerg's account for the next account review. Now he is level 42, and of course right before I begin, if you watching this video are interested in an account review, make sure you join the Discord. I have better instructions in the BIM account review video if you want to check that one out to get a better idea of what you need to do. But basically you need to at least join the Discord and either talk and chat there or just DM me via Discord, and we can set up a time and date for your own account review in regards to if your account is actually on Android or Facebook, or by Android I mean Google Play or Facebook. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it. So McSerg's, as I stated before in the intro of the video, you are level 42. So in today's account review, we're just going to be taking a look at most of the basic stuff right here, because it's important, especially as a newer player, to not try and flood you with all types of things that you have going on here, or all types of things that you can do, because your main gain in this game is going to be focusing on doing one task at a time until you can get that task completely done and then moving on to the next. It's not a game where you can do everything all at once just from the start. But let's first talk about your gym quality. Your gym quality is fine. I mean, I didn't see any mons that were gym weirdly. I didn't personally see mons with like crit rate attack on them or something like that. I didn't look through every single mon, but I looked through mons where I see a lot of players struggle with, and your gym seem to be fine. Obviously their subs are something to be desired, but taking into account that you're only level 42, it's not that big of a deal. So it looks like your main issue right now is Golems, which we will go over to Golems real quick and get some teams out for you, just in case maybe the teams that you're running is similar to this, or they could be better or worse. I have no idea. But let's go over here to Golems. Alright, so here we are at B7. I'm not sure what your B7 team was previously, but these are just the girls that I picked out for your B7 team at the moment. So we're rocking Wood Jean, Dark Sarah, Dark Wildfang, and then Dark Artemis. Now these aren't mons that you may be keeping like 100% throughout the entire game, but since you have Sarah maxed out, I mean, you already started enhancing her, I figured why not. Dark Wildfang is also another great nuker, even though she's only Evo 2, and Wood Artemis is just there to heal and pretty much just to be there as a open slot, because there's not too much to choose from, which isn't a big deal. I mean, I guess in theory you could pick Water Garuda, but I was just trying to match out the elements. But once again, if Wood Jean is built properly, she's going to do some good damage too, as you hopefully get her to Evo 3 in the future. But you don't need Gleams for that. But this should be a solid team, because you have all these dark bonds here to help with the wave clearing, and then also Jean and or John and not Water Artemis, but Wood Artemis both have the ability of elemental advantage just to improve your damage for B7. Is your time going to be amazing in this? Probably not, but as long as you get these mons of level 60 and some decent gems, and as you continue to play the game, get closer and closer to Evo 3 and especially super evolutions, you should be quite well off for B7. Let's go ahead and move on to B8. Alright, so this is your B8 team. It looks fine. It doesn't look like it's anything bad at all. If Fire Draka is surviving, just keep Fire Draka there. And I will say, since Draka is a very important mon, in the future, you don't have to do it right now, but in the future I would definitely try and get your Draka to Evo 3, because it's going to help out so immensely with the attack boost, which just makes clearing out waves more efficient. But if Draka is somehow dying, then feel free to swap Draka out with maybe Dark Wildfang at this point, because we're going to be using a lot of her, especially as a nuker in B8. I mean, B8's pretty much a joke anyways. But if you want to increase even more DPS, if everyone's not clearing out the waves, even though they should be, of course get mana to 60. Super Evolution, wouldn't really focus on that right now. You're level 42. Even if you get the stones, is it worth super evolving Water Mona at this point in time? Not really. I would save it for someone else. But yeah, your B8 team should be pretty straightforward, and it looks like you got the hang of that. So just continue farming here to get some square slots for your other mons, and then move on to the other golems. But let's go ahead and head over to B9 next. Now once again, we are rocking pretty much the same composition as you've probably seen the entire video of the Dark Sarah and Dark Wildfang combo, because you don't have another wave clearer. I mean, Draka does count as a wave clearer, but you will be using it here, especially with the elemental advantage. But since you don't have like another dark wave clearer, Dark Wildfang should be sufficient for whatever that you need her to do. And at least you have Dark Sarah, which is really important, especially for farming things out. And then I just have Fire Siegfried here as a placeholder. He's another wave clearer. You'll be running this dungeon with 4 wave clearers pretty much. Well, 3 wave clearers and a nuker, which is perfectly fine. It's not super duper hard. It's just that these mons are slightly tanky. But if you don't want to invest in your Fire Siegfried any further, which I'd still do recommend, you could always take him out, and if you want to maybe put in Zubaji for now, that's perfectly fine as well. I would just keep Zubaji at Evo 2. I don't really find a fire one at Evo 3 to be a super good idea, but that's my opinion, because she's single target, and while it may work here if the AI decides to target the boss, there's also a chance that it's not going to work, and then, you know, it's kind of wasted damage when Siegfried, even though he has elemental edge, could hit everything all at once. And plus, you know, I feel like Siegfrieds in general are just easier to obtain, but that's up to you. But it should be a solid B9 team as well. Once again, I can't iterate enough that make sure you just focus on getting them on to level 60. Book them up if you can, and I would say book them up and then focus on gems after you get them level 60. But do what you can. I understand you're only level 42, but yep, let's go ahead and move on to B10. Now this should be a ways off for you. I think it took me around a month or two, honestly, of farming B7 and B9 once I got a good time down to actually feel brave enough to even attempt B10. So it really depends on how much you play the game, but I would say that this for right now is a good starting team for your B10 team. Since, I mean, they're all dark mons, they shouldn't be killing Dark Sarah or Dark Wildfang right off the bat. At least I hope not. And once Draka is Evo 3, or even if Draka is what it is for right now, if you can get these other 2 mons up to Evo 3, that will be a lot better and a lot more stable since you're running basically a nuker build. But especially with a nuker build, it's important for you to have trinkets ready for these mons. Make sure they're booked up, like I said it before, if possible. And most of all, make sure their gems aren't perfect, but you need some decent, I would say 5-star gems at minimum, with some decent subs for B10. Obviously, you could do it another way. Like I know Nestia has done like a 4 times Light Cosmo way, but that we're talking about like what, 64 Light Cosmo to get it to everyone to Evo 3 and gemmed up. So this is one way of doing it. It's not the best way in the world, but you're pretty much running with all nukers here or mons that can hit super hard, so you really don't need sap, because I think the only sap that I saw in your box so far has been 1 Water Miho. And I'm not saying Water Miho is bad at all, it's just that there's only 1 Water Miho there. So if you wanted to do a sap build, well, you would need to pick up another sapper. You need to pick up a Fire Persephone. You would need to pick up a Wet Artemis, another Wet Miho, Wet Yuki, Dark Yuki, whatever you can get your hands on, which Water Miho is easily accessible, and she's not a bad mon. It's just that once you pull a better sapper, like, you never touch her again. But in the event that this team doesn't work out, what you could do right here is actually maybe drop Sarah, because she has elemental advantage, and while that is useful here, if her crit damage is lower than Wildfang's, I would just keep Wildfang's, and if Sarah outperforms Dark Wildfang, then I would just keep her, and I would throw in Wet Miho and then maybe another Wet Miho for now. Make sure they're fully booked up. You can run them on HP attack, to be honest, at level 60. Evo 3 of course, but I would run in 2 sappers and then 2 wave clearers, and that should be a solid B10 team for you. And for right now, I would say that's a limit. Like, don't try and reach for B11. Once your mons are at Evo 3 with some decent gems, then we could talk about B11. But for right now, you just need to farm out B8 as you have been to get a little bit better square gems. Slide over to B7 and B9 for a month or 2, depending on how much you play. And then once you get your mons built up a little bit more, after a couple more festivals, come over here to B10 and make this your home for now, with future plans for B11. But that's my advice for your Golems teams for right now. And in concerns to dragons, this is pretty much the same scenario. So for B7, you can use the exact same team, if not a team very close to that. Same thing for B8 and B9. You can all run very similar compositions to these teams, but I would replace probably the weakest damage dealer in that team. If you find that you're dying in dragons with maybe Dark Cupid, I mean, I'm not expecting you to do dragons super hardcore right now, but even if you want to go to like the lower level of dragons and try and farm out like a crappy siphon set, that's perfectly fine as well. But once your mons are gemmed up for B7 and B9, then in the future dragons shouldn't be an issue for you at all, and it's really just dependent on how much you play. You should be doing pretty decent in dragons depending on your gem luck within a month or two, without a doubt. So you can go ahead and start working towards a siphon set, because those do take time, but they are super duper worth it. And you can easily smack that on your Dark Sarah and then your Fire Draka, and congratulations, you've beaten the game. Also, Colossus is not open. It is not open, but I would say in the future, I do think you may be able to do Fire Colossus, like I said before, in the future, and also possibly Light and Dark Colossus, depending on how well your mons are built, and if you end up getting a couple nukers here. I'm not really going to dive too much into the details about Colossus, because I really want you to focus on Golems, but just take a look at your mon box for right now. I would say Fire Colossus is a possibility for you in the future. So is Light and Dark Colossus, because you do have a couple dark nukers, but it's just really dependent on what you pull in the future, and more so your gem quality. But yeah, those are the Colossus I see you working towards once you get everything settled. And let's go ahead and move on over here to PvP real quick. Alright, so this looks like this is your current PvP team. Not bad for 42, probably better than mine at 42, probably better than mine for right now. But once again, the same suggestion is there. Obviously work towards getting your Fire Draka to Evo 3 for more stability from him. Continue working on your Dark Sarah. Not a big fan of Wet Valk, but if she works, she works. And then you have Fire Shiva here just for some stun action, which is fine. But I was taking a look at your box, and while this isn't something that you could possibly do right now, in the future, I would say that you could maybe drop your Water Valk if she isn't doing the job for you, and throw in a Dark Wildfang instead, because once again, she's just a very, very incredible nuker, and she can help take some of the aggro off Dark Sarah, and hopefully they can both survive a turn depending on what you're fighting. But you could always drop her or Fire Shiva and throw in Dark Wildfang as a nuker. The nuker way in PvP does work, you just got to be very, very lucky and have some good quality gems. Also, another suggestion for the future, I'm not sure how well this will work, but I noticed that you did have them. And let me go over here and try and get them together. So I saw a Light Yuki in your box, which I'm assuming that you picked with your Nat 4 Light and Dark Selector, which is perfectly fine. She's great. Absolutely great mon. You do have Zephyros, which is awesome. He will pair very, very nicely with your Light Yuki if I can find her. Alright, so there's Light Yuki. We have Light Zephyros. And then what I was thinking for you was also Fire Amayoji. And then if you had another nuker, I would say if you're not fighting a mon with elemental advantage, like if you're fighting a light mon, just bring in Dark Wildfang, because elemental edge is just rendered useless because it's attacking the same element that Dark is strong against. But I think a composition like this for the future would definitely be a pretty decent composition, because you have Zephyros there who can apply resistance down to the enemy, and then you have Light Yuki there who can shock them and make sure her shock sticks most of the time. And then Light Zephyros also has shock on his AoE skill, so he can get his shock to stick at times as well, and it also helps hopefully keep some aggro off Light Yuki. And then for right now, I just have Fire Amayoji there because she is a tank, and with her SP Siphon, even though you don't have like a Dark Yuki, it's not a super big deal. But SP Siphon is very useful in preventing mons from getting their 5-star skill off, which could potentially kill your entire squad. With her there, if you use her correctly, then you can prevent people from nuking your team, and you can focus on nuking them as Wildfang gets the build up for her damage. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, this is kind of a light, this is kind of a nuker-ish / CC team, kind of a mix of both. But from what I could pick out of your mons, just in future references, if you come across any difficulties, maybe give this one a shot and see how it works out. I think it will be not optimal, but it should be pretty good. And as long as the mons are built correctly, it should be a good time, at least in most cases. Once again, not optimal, but something that I would definitely recommend trying out for you. And basically, to sum things up, well, not sum things up, but basically, in concerns to your Tower of Chaos, I did note that it's at 11 out of 120. I mean, I'm not expecting you at level 42 to be able to clear out all 120 floors, but I think especially with your Draka and just your Dark Sarah and all the mons that you have at this point in time, if you really push next month, I think you could at least hit 100. I mean, that may be overshooting things, but I think 100 is definitely possible. At the very, very minimum, you should be aiming to get that Golden Gleam, not Golden Gleam, but Holy Gleam, if I can find it over here, which is at floor 50. Like, if you can get that Holy Gleam, then I'm perfectly fine with you just not doing Tower of Chaos at all, at least for now. But I would at least shoot for that Holy Gleam so you can give those to other Nat 5s. And then in the future, definitely aim for floor 100, because that's a free Nat 5 every single month. Every single month. Also forgot to mention too that in the future, that when you do get into Colossus, make sure you farm out that Fire Wukong from the Heroes Dungeon over here, because he will be a good party member for you in terms of Colossus. And in terms of just pulling Nat 5s in general, because this is a common question, especially for newer players, I see that you're at 10k gems, and that's perfectly fine. Keep up your gems. Make sure you're sliming every week to earn that 1k extra of gems, and try and focus right now mainly on one festival. Heroes Festival does give you 2 Nat 5s per 1 Nat 5 pull, while Clans Festival, at least in my opinion, seems a lot more reliable with light and dark Nat 5s. So I'm not saying don't support your clan. Do a little bit of pulls if you need to, even if it's only 2 or 4 pulls. But for right now, I would say honestly just focus on Heroes Festival, and at least try and go for maybe 1 or 2 Nat 5s. That way you can get a total of 4, and hopefully pull something useful so you can kind of fill out your roster here and just upgrade to more stronger mons so they can do the same job that your current mons are doing, but at a better pace. And plus, I mean, you also get the additional Nat 4s to work on your mons, like your Dark Wildfang and your Wood John, whatever the heck she's called. But I mean, I think overall your account's in good standing. Continue to focus on Golems. Make that your primary focus for now. Get those mons gemmed up. Get those mons at Evo 3 whenever possible. Focus only on one festival for the time being too. And yeah, you should be good to go, dude. You should be absolutely good to go. And also, quick tip right before we go. Another thing too with fighting in PvP. My main focus, I used to get the Holy Gleam, but right now I just stopped because I wouldn't say that it's not worth it, but at 4,000 emblems, it is quite steep. I would say honestly, if you can, obviously get the RGB Gleam every single week. If that's the minimum that you can do, get that. And then after that, I would honestly focus on the Heroic Secret Egg, because that's a Nat 5 every month. That's literally 2 Nat 5s if you're counting Tower of Chaos every month in your pull, and there could be something useful, or there could be something that you could save for the future to feed into another useful mon that you may get from a festival, or if you want to, you know, give it to what's his name, Sir Nunos, Kurt Nunos, or Draka or Griffin in the future. That's also fodder for that. So it's a win-win in all situations. If you're feeling lucky, go for the high and light dark egg package, but I would say honestly for right now just focus on getting more Nat 5s, and you can spend any excess emblems that you have on that. I mean, you'll get some dark pins, but it is what it is. Now do keep in mind this is 100% unlicensed, so if this doesn't work out for you, well, you know, I'm not licensed, so yeah, that's pretty much it.